Welcome back to the show. The Direct Question. I'm your host, Chris Honors. Thank you for tuning into the show. Hello, welcome as always. My guest on the show, she's my very good friend. Thank you so much, Sijuwade, for coming on the show. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, Chris. Good to see you.
You're welcome. How's the weather over there?
It's sunny, but it's a bit windy. Yeah, we're having great. I think spring is here at last.
Thank you so much. Before we come on air, we're just talking about your years back in Ireland. Yeah, it was amazing, and look at us here today. We're still alive and talking and get to know that you've lived here and all the rest. So it's good to really get that kind of feeling, Anyway, so I want to talk to you about the ongoing issues or matters that concern everybody. From either you're from the Commonwealth or you're in the UK, you're in Ireland, whatever, you're black, white, you know yourself here. I'm driving down to, and this is very, very important for everybody. So the ongoing issue, or can I say the rift between Harry and Meghan, what is your take on this?
I think it's been a very sad few days since Monday, because Monday was the International Women's Day. We were celebrating women, and the bombshell from the interview, some of the revelations were very heart-wrenching, and it's taken me a while. It took me a while to actually process it all. I don't think I've fully processed the revelations that were given. Even watching the program, the 2-hour interview was really hard, but I was committed that I actually want to watch it, and I'm going to stay tuned right to the end and finish watching it. But it has raised a whole lot of issues, and the one that stuck out was the race issue, because we're still trying to or the whole world is still trying to come to terms with the issue of Black Lives Matter. I don't know whether you guys in Ireland had the movement, but it was a huge movement here as well as in the United States. And what has risen out of that is this culture war, and it only I felt like the whole race issue just festered and brought up, just festered the culture war. And we've seen so much divides with Black Lives Matter. And I feel like it just exacerbated the whole issue of race. On one hand, we need to address and tackle the issue of race relation. And I hope that, what this interview has done is just going to do that, because we don't want the society to be further polarized. What we actually want is for each and everyone to not to be on the offense or defense, either way, but actually, let's have this conversation. What's the issue here? And how can we tackle it? And how can we move forward? And how can we have a better community cohesion, whatever your community might be, is what I'm hoping this conversation or this interview with Oprah will do on a long term.
That's a very good point that you've made in this whole intro to this very, very, we can say sensitive subject, but it is what matters most, and we have to talk about it. But on the other hand, there are a lot of people who are saying, because of the pandemic, if this is the perfect time for Harry and Meghan to actually do this interview. What's your take on that?
There is no perfect time for any discussion, to be quite honest with you, because they obviously felt pain. They've been hurt, according to their account. I'm not here to contest whether it's true or false. Your personal experience is your personal experience, and how you internalize it is your personal experience. So I'm not here to deny your experience or anything like that. So for somebody to harbor that or have been keeping quiet for such a long time, and it comes to the point where somebody feels that they can no longer keep quiet, they need to speak up and they need to speak out. But for me, there were a number of issues that were raised at that interview. And what people have done, or the public have done, is to mumble jumble them together. But there's so many layers, and it needs to be unpacked, and it needs to be unpacked by a psychiatrist or somebody in psychology field. I do hope they're seeking actual help, because there's no point in just coming out, but actually seeking help, to address some of the concerns, but it is sad. Even I think Her Majesty the Queen, said, they were saddened, by, what they've heard and what has come out. And that just goes to show the humanity of the Queen, that, that she can feel her pain, she can feel the pain of her grandson, and this is concerning. And hopefully, the family can come to some sort of consultation or counseling or some sort, that, can help them move forward with their lives.
And in spite of that, like earlier when we were talking about the Black Lives Matters, we're talking about the cultural, the race and all of that. I think when you watch the quick interview when Prince William was actually coming out from a visit, there was I think a journalist asked a question if there was a racist in the room, to say the royals are not a racist family, which is fair. But Ari, on the other side, he says that racism is one of the large reasons why they left.
Very good point you raised there. And I think this is where the public is getting it all mixed up. Harry said that they left the country because of racism. From who? That's the big question. From who? But we've mixed that up because they referenced that somebody in the family had referenced, the issue of skin color. Now, that's an individual. That doesn't mean the entire family had said something. That's an individual. And we don't know the context of what that individual has said or how it's said. It could be a clumsy remark, they didn't think it through or whatever. I'm not there, and I'm not here to make excuse for the individual. We don't know who the individual is. We don't know the context in which it's said. So that's an individual. So to now brand that an entire family is racist, I think that's a little bit undeserving. I don't think that needs to be clustered together, but I hear what Harry was saying when he said they left the country because of racism. Yes, because the public, okay, let's step back a little bit. The media tend to, propagate, a particular stance or particular view, whether they're poking at people for fun or for whatever reason, to sell their papers or to sell their media space or whatever. They went after this couple, and that was now peddled by the public as well. So there are some people in the general public who actually enjoys this. Do you know what I mean? So yes, so the comments, so when the media put something out and the public are now commenting, and I'm not even going to name the names of some of the media personality that actually helped to fester this situation, this culture war, more than it should. So when it's perpetuated over and over again, there's little to human endurance, and they're humans at the end of the day, whether they're royals, whether they're privileged, whether they're rich, they're human beings at the end of the day. And you can have a dig at somebody for so long, it's gonna break them, and yes, they left the country because of all this public reaction and the media frenzy. So to now cluster everything together that, the entire family is racist, I think really that's not a fair or accurate picture to paint.
Right, okay, we will leave that for now, but we will come back to it. So we look into other areas of Meghan health, which is one of the areas which very concerned as well. According to some other different sources, which are saying that, well, Meghan should have mentioned or seek for help rather than coming to the public to actually say these things. And from the look of things, she felt very uncomfortable from the very first start. She actually starts the whole marriage issues and everything with our kind of stuff. You can see that during the time of her wedding and all the rest. But that's a different story. On the interview, she also mentioned about her health, you know, how she's thinking about committing suicidal. And you and I know it is not just easy for someone to just be able to say, oh, I want to commit suicide. And when people like that come out to say it, they meant what they say, you know. And for her to go through that process and be able to have the confidence to come out to this interview and be able to say all these things, what do you think? Is Meghan just making this up, or this is just the reality of what she's going through?
I don't think anybody's making anything up, you know, because, you know, we have to look at it in context. Somebody can say something, whether intended or not intended. I'm not here to debate that. But what I think issue here, looking at it from Meghan's perspective now, is that if somebody says something, how we receive what was said to us is another thing entirely. That's one. And the second thing is how we now internalize what's been said to us and how we process the information. And you just, we never would know what was going on at the time, because there would be so many compounding factors surrounding the family, you know, that would make one emotional. Not just that, one's upbringing as well, and one's family background, how the person got to where they are and everything. All those things, you know, if you were to put it all together and unpack it, you know, can have an emotional impact, or how somebody processes information altogether. What I would have loved to see, or would have loved to see highlighted, was that, is Meghan seeking help? And what sort of help is she seeking? I know she's mentioned that she sought for help, nobody came to her aid, that sort of thing. But, you know, you, in a way, you know, you can still go independent away from the royal family setup, you know. But then again, you know, there's issue of, you know, the media now prying and say, oh, you know, you can imagine what the headlines would be, that, oh, she's now in a counseling rehab or something like that. You can imagine. So there's a lot of competing issues here that, you know, they have to weigh up and juggle. But I would have just loved to see better that, you know, this is a cry of help. There's no doubt about it. Coming to Oprah is a cry of help, you know, no doubt about it. And I hope we are actually listening and listening very, very well and carefully, and make sure that anybody that is actually, so not just her, or not just the successes, but also anybody, you know, that might, just from hearing that and their mental health, you know, issues were woken up or whatever, can actually seek help and get the help that they need. But anybody, any cry of help from anybody, regardless of who you are, I believe should be taken very seriously.
Okay, I want to become a little bit more the devil advocate on this part side, right? And, you know, for my viewers at home, you know, you have to take, everybody have their own opinion, but I want to be on the devil advocate here. My point here is this. I believe Meghan knows what she's getting into in the first place. Okay. You know, when you're going to a royal family, it's different from any other kind of family you're going to go through. You and I know from Africa's perspective, it's not everybody that will like you when you go into a marriage, and not everything you expect from the marriage you're going to get. So in terms of Meghan's side of things with a royal family, I believe Meghan knows what she's going into. Would you agree with me on this?
You see, I laugh because I have similar experience, but then I'm not the one that is on the spotlight. It's not about me this morning. You have to call me in and interview me another time for that. But maybe I can share a little bit from my own personal experience. In as much, you know, as you feel you know what you're getting yourself into. Your idea before you walk into marriage is totally different from the reality when you enter marriage. You know, with the best research that you may have done, and the guy seemed perfect, or whatever, or the family setup is perfect, or whatever. You don't know, because we're talking about human dynamics here and how we all relate with each other in a system, is totally different. So from my own personal experience, as I was saying, what I thought, wasn't what I met when, post-marriage. So, and that's where I can empathize with Meghan, that, yeah, people say, but you should know it's the royal family. You should have done your research. After all, The Crown is on Netflix, blah, blah, blah. You should have watched a bit, although that's friction. Some of it is friction, by the way. Yeah. But, you should have read up and know what the institution is about and everything. But I don't think the reality sinks in until you actually are living that experience. So you're now moving from theory to practice. From few years ago is like abstract, or what you see on television, or what the media portray to us, but you are the person who is actually living, in this family setup or in this family system. It will be different, So I think for her, there's a lot of culture, plus the fact that she's from another country. She's not, remember, she's not from England, so a lot of things she will not be aware that, because whether we like it or not, the British people have culture. People say they have serious culture. It may not be in your face like I'm wearing my African, no, but they have culture. And it's when you actually live here for quite some time, you understand that there is culture to the British people. And it's about how you assimilate and, quickly into the society, so, yeah. So I think for her, what was more difficult is that she's also an American, how the Americans will see things or do things will be different from, the British. And, for all she knows, it was this fairy tale, I'm married to the prince, and happily ever after, and I hope so. I still hope that, it will be happily ever after for them, but, there's that, you learn on the job as you go as well.
No, I mean, that kind of break it down. That's the reason why I said I want to be the devil advocate here, because at the end of the day, like everybody will say, oh, she should know what she's getting into. Like you rightly mentioned, you never know what you're getting into until you're actually in there, and then you realize what the story is.
And it's your choice to say, I want to stay in there, or I want to leave. I'm not happy, or I'm happy, I want to stay on. It's your choice.
And do you also think, in your opinion, for viewers at home, we're just having a conversation over this, so it's not personal. The decision that we both made, do you think it was too quick? And if so, Ari did mention, according to the interview, that she was supposed to meet with the Queen, but whatever protocol they have in there, things get to change. The week he was supposed to meet with the Queen, they came back and said, oh, sorry, you cannot meet the Queen, X, Y, Z. And what about during the week? According to him, he said he actually spoke to the Queen, Her Majesty, but at the end of the day, she said she's busy all the week. So do you think they made this decision too quick?
Which decision are we talking about?
Decision of moving away from the UK.
Oh, the decision to, not the interview, but
no.
Okay.
Yeah, because all of these all came out from the interview. Everything we're talking today is from the interview.
What I was trying to clarify was that, is it the decision to go on Oprah or the decision to...
No, the decision to actually, that makes sense,
I got you, to leave the UK. At the end of the day, you have to look after your well-being. I think that should be the first and foremost. And I applaud Harry for being courageous and being brave to look after his wife and his child, as well as to look after himself, because at the end of the day, you have to look after your well-being and that of your family. So that should come first before everything else. But we've got to remember that there is that person and there's that duty when it comes to the royal family setup as well. So looking at it from the Queen's perspective, I don't know, but I'm just guessing and I'm assuming, I could, I stand to be corrected on this. She has a duty at the end of the day. And her duty, she has preserved it for so many decades, and this is the duty, this is the very essence of the duty that each and every person in this whole situation is holding on to and they're fighting for, whether fighting for title, fighting for status, or fighting for no status, whatever. Everything centers on this duty that she has preserved. If she hasn't preserved it, it will not be subject of contention as we're speaking. Do you see where I'm trying to go? So she has that duty to preserve it. And if she can't see the Queen, I believe that there are protocols. I don't know the setup, by the way, so I'm just assuming all this. And
of course, there is a protocol.
Some of it is from the Crown, so I'm basing some of my assumption on the friction film now. But there are protocols, and that has to be observed regardless of who you are. Even with her husband, her husband had to come to the point where he has to respect the Crown and observe, the Crown. So it's something that has been in centuries. So Queen, she's not the first queen, and there will be other queens and kings after her. And she has a duty and responsibility to preserve that while she's still a custodian of it, in this space, in time and generation. So, it's about balancing of duties and personalities and and whatnot. But to I think to answer your question, there is no right or wrong, whether it was too quick or not too quick. What I just say is that whatever you feel right, whatever your instinct is telling you, follow that instinct. Is probably the simpler answer after I've gone around.
I have to give you something to land on. I want to come back to the culture issue, because no matter what we drive at, it comes down to the culture issue. And either we are in Ireland or anywhere part of the world, in America, it's kind of crazy. When it comes to Black people, it doesn't matter where or what relationship you really go to. There's always going to be that difference between black and white or blue or yellow, depends, So back on the cultural issue, with all of these that's come out from the likes of Meghan and Harry, which Harry mentioned that it's a large racism in the whole entire platform there. What lessons have everyone learned from this? And how best can they really, bring everyone together? You have to remember that the UK is the Commonwealth when it comes to nearly all the African countries from around the world, even Australia, I think, part of all the different countries, what should we learn from this?
I think the first thing first is that we are all humans at the end of the day. Whether you're royal, whether you're born into a rich family, whether you're privileged, whatever your status in life, whatever your walk of life, we are all human beings at the end of the day. We all feel the same pain. We all feel the same hurt, and it's not a competition who is hurt the most, or my hurt is more than yours, because no, everybody has their own experience and hurt and pain, and how they feel that, and how they internalize that, and how they resolve that and heal from that. So, but I do hope that, this is a family issue from the get-go. I think this is the second interview that I've granted on this situation. Other than that, I've not made any public comments since the whole situation started. And I refuse to, simply because, personally, my take is that it's the family issue first and foremost. And they should be given the chance and the opportunity to resolve that behind closed doors, not to come before us, and for us to be the judge and tell them this is what you need to do, and that's what you need to do. Yes, we may be the taxpayer, we may be paying salaries, from the taxpayer point of view, but at the end of the day, they're human first, they're family first. And I think it's a family private issue that needs to be resolved behind closed doors. And I hope that they will have those conversations. And I believe they will. I truly believe that they will resolve that. And it just goes to show, what's been highlighted. It just goes to show that is anything that will go in your family or my family. What is important is, go for it. What is important is how we resolve issues as families. I think at the end of the day, it's probably the takeaway that I'm going to take away from this whole situation, that as families, we need to resolve our differences. And sometimes it's not for the public consumption, because what the public will do is give all their opinions here and there, and it doesn't help anybody, but it worsens the situation because now, go on.
Yes, sorry to go to shut, but you make some point there. But it's not, Meghan is not kind of the person, or Ari kind of person that would love to want to bring their personal issues out. But Harry, from our point of view, from my own opinion, when you look back to what a mom passed through as well, it felt, look, I want to be safe. And that's me anytime, and that's what I would say, that it purposely come out just to be safe, and it just couldn't keep this within himself. That's why I believe they have to come out this way. And I also believe that if Harry himself or the Queen, or they kind of see this whole issue from time, because I think the Queen actually mentioned that this whole movement and stuff has already been something ongoing for a good while, so there should have been a way to resolve all of these. This wouldn't have come out this way if actually came out.
And can I even just say something as well, that I also understand why they came out as well, because a lot of lies have been peddled on the media outlets as well. And they felt they need to set the record straight. And I'm happy that they were able to speak their truth and tell it exactly as how they saw it, and to set them, the media record straight, because they have been bullied, constantly, through the media outlets. So, that's okay. That's totally fine for them to do. But there are still some serious issues here, serious issues here that really needs to be resolved. And for everybody's mental well-being and safety, I think that needs to be done, behind closed doors.
Okay, we will have to wrap it there. I think with the way you wrap it up, that is the best way to really do these things. So for this to be actually discussed behind closed doors would be a best way. Or at least the public would love to know at some stage, how this is going, because they want to make sure Harry is okay. They want to make sure Meghan is okay. They want to make sure the entire Queen is okay, because everybody look forward to, to the Queen and everybody. So, there should be some kind of peaceful way to resolve these, and also look into the issue of race, into the issue of color. It opens
the discussion wider for us, and I do hope that we can stop this culture war, because what this has now done, is open up the wound, even further now. And perhaps, it's high time you really go for education and really understand each other's culture, and have some understanding, and maybe to be less judgmental, and less throwing in assumptions here and there, and really getting to know who our next door neighbor is, and have some sort of community cohesion is what I want.
I think it'd be good in the future, Sijuwade, that I will look for a time to really bring you on the show again, so that we can talk more about culture, because really, it is really, really important. Maybe bring some friends, other people from different nationalities. That way they can understand, because we know for a fact it's just that cultural difference is really there, and it makes, when you come around, either you're white or you're black, say, oh, I don't want the problem. Oh, Jesus, you know the way they are, things like that. We shouldn't be afraid of getting to meet one another. We should be able to learn from meeting one another, either you're black or white. Come close together. Learn my culture, I learn your culture. We'll meet halfway. There will be peaceful way of how we move up.
Yes.
Wonderful. So I want to say thank you so much for coming up on the show today. It's a wonderful conversation. And I believe viewers at home, this is where we're going to wrap the show up. I want to say thank you all for tuning in. As always, the Jury Question. Tune in next week for more of the show. God bless. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.